The Strip, 4.2 miles of neon lights, replica landmarks, and manufactured dreams in the middle of the Mojave Desert. This is Las Vegas, a city that should not exist, built on a foundation of sand, illusion, and the promise that what happens here stays here. Las Vegas is thriving by every measurable metric. It is one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in the United States. The population has more than doubled since 1990. New developments spring up constantly. The economy is booming. Tourism brings in over $80 billion annually to the region. So what is the problem? Why does living here feel like existing inside a simulation? Why do so many residents describe a strange emptiness despite being surrounded by constant spectacle? It is not that Las Vegas is a tourist city. Plenty of cities rely heavily on tourism. Paris, Rome, Barcelona. These places welcome millions of visitors every year while maintaining a distinct identity that existed long before tourists arrived. Las Vegas is different. Las Vegas was not built for the people who live there. It was built for the people passing through. Before the casinos, before the replicas of the Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty, before the fountains that choreographed themselves to pop songs, Las Vegas was essentially nothing. It was just a small railroad town in the desert with a population of 8,400 in 1940. The city existed as a pit stop, a place to get water and supplies before continuing west to California. Everything changed when Nevada legalized gambling in 1931. But even then, growth was slow. Las Vegas remained relatively small for decades. The real explosion came later, in the 1990s, when casino magnates decided that gambling alone was not enough. They needed spectacle. They needed to build entire worlds. Steve Wynn opened the Mirage in 1989 with an erupting volcano in front. The Luxor came next, with its massive pyramid and a light beam visible from space. Then the Venetian arrived, with indoor canals and painted sky ceilings. New York crammed the Manhattan skyline into a single building. Paris, Las Vegas gave you the Eiffel Tower at half scale. The Bellagio brought Italian lakeside elegance to the desert. These weren't just hotels, they were self-contained fantasy environments. Each one promised to transport you somewhere else. The irony is that in trying to become everywhere, Las Vegas became nowhere. Walk down the Strip and you are not in Nevada. You are not really anywhere. You are in a place designed to make you forget where you are entirely. The casinos famously have no clocks, no windows, pumped oxygen, and specific scent profiles engineered to keep you inside. Time does not exist. Weather does not exist. Reality is whatever the casino says it is. Here's the thing. This works brilliantly for visitors. For a weekend trip, the artifice is the appeal. You want to see the fake Eiffel Tower. You want to ride the gondola through the fake Venice. You want the spectacle, the over-the-top excess, the freedom from everyday constraints. It is escapism as an industry, and Las Vegas has perfected it. But what happens when you live there? When the vacation never ends because it is just your commute to work? When you are surrounded by people who are there to forget their lives while you are trying to build one? The fundamental problem is that Las Vegas has no organic culture. It has no history worth preserving, no local traditions that developed over generations. Everything here was imported, copied, manufactured. Even the name comes from Spanish explorers who called it the Meadows because there was grass near the springs. That is it. That is the origin story. Compare this to other major American cities. New York built itself on immigration and finance. Chicago on industry and transportation. San Francisco on the gold rush and counterculture. Los Angeles on the film industry and car culture. These cities have an identity independent of tourism. Las Vegas has gambling and spectacle. That is the entire foundation. The city's infrastructure reflects this. The Strip is essentially a separate entity from the rest of Las Vegas. Most of it is not even technically in Las Vegas proper. It is in Paradise, an unincorporated town created specifically for the casinos. The major resorts are designed to keep people inside. They have their own restaurants, their own shopping, their own entertainment. You can spend days on the Strip without ever experiencing actual Las Vegas. In actual Las Vegas, the parts where people live is just sprawl. Endless suburbs spreading across the valley floor, housing developments with names like Spanish Trail and The Crossing that reference history that never existed here, strip malls, chain restaurants, the same generic American suburbia you would find anywhere, except it is surrounded by mountains and 115-degree heat. There is no downtown in the traditional sense. Fremont Street tried to become one, covering itself with an LED canopy and calling itself Old Vegas, but Old Vegas was 4 decades of small-time gambling, not something to build civic identity around. The city tried to brand it as authentic, but authentic what? Authentic simulation of what Vegas was before it became a bigger simulation? The disconnect between tourist Las Vegas and residential Las Vegas is profound. The Strip pulls in 42 million visitors annually. The people who live in Las Vegas, the 650,000 residents of the city proper, and 2.2 million in the metro area exist in parallel to this. They serve it, they staff it, they build it, they do not really participate in it. Locals rarely go to the Strip unless they are showing it to visitors or working there. The tourist attractions have nothing to do with daily life. You do not take a romantic gondola ride through the Venetian on a Tuesday. You do not eat at a celebrity chef restaurant when you are picking up groceries. These things exist for other people, and you are just living in the support structure. This creates a bizarre psychological effect. Your home city's identity is something you are excluded from. The version of Las Vegas that everyone knows, the one in movies and TV shows and advertisements, is not for you. It is for them. You exist in the background of someone else's vacation photos. Even the things that should bind a community together are fractured here. There is no strong local sports culture because professional teams only recently arrived. The Raiders moved from Oakland in 2020. The Golden Knights started in 2017. Before that, nothing. No generations of families bonding over hometown teams. No decades of tradition and rivalry and shared experience. The art scene struggles because everything is transient. People move to Las Vegas for work opportunities and leave when they find something better. It is a stepping stone city, a place to make money before going somewhere with better weather and more culture. The people who do stay often describe a strange sort of resignation, like they got stuck in place and never figured out how to leave. And then there is the environmental absurdity. Las Vegas exists in the Mojave Desert. It receives about 4 inches of rain per year. Summer temperatures regularly exceed 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Lake Mead, the reservoir that supplies most of the city's water, is at historic lows. The bathtub ring of white mineral deposits on the canyon walls shows exactly how much water has been lost. The city is fundamentally unsustainable. It exists because we decided to pump water from the Colorado River and to air condition everything aggressively enough to make the heat bearable. The Bellagio fountains use 12 million gallons of water per year for choreographed water shows in the desert because they look pretty. This is the core of why Las Vegas feels fake. It is not just the replica landmarks. The entire city is an active defiance of reality. It exists in a place where humans should not build major population centers. It is economically dependent on an industry built around statistical improbability. Its identity is borrowed from other places. Its culture is imported. Its history is manufactured. When you think of authentic cities, you think of places shaped by geography, history, and the people who live there. Venice became Venice because of the lagoon and trade routes. New Orleans became New Orleans because of the Mississippi Delta and the collision of French, Spanish, and African cultures. These places have soul because they emerged from specific circumstances and developed organically over centuries. Las Vegas was designed, not by urban planners with community needs in mind, but by casino operators maximizing profit. Every aspect of the Strip is engineered for revenue extraction. The carpet patterns are designed to keep you walking. The lack of straight paths makes you pass more slot machines. The bright lights and sensory overload keep you stimulated and spending. Even the famous "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas" slogan reveals the emptiness. The city's own marketing pitch is that it is a place to escape your real life and your real values. It is a place where normal rules do not apply. It is positioned as separate from reality, a consequence-free zone where you can be someone else for a few days. And maybe that is fine for visitors. Maybe that is even appealing. But what does it mean to live in a place whose entire purpose is to be a vacation from real life? What kind of community can form when transience is the defining characteristic, when everyone around you is either passing through or working to serve the people passing through? The residential areas try to create normalcy. There are good schools in the suburbs, there are parks, there are neighborhood associations and local businesses. People build lives here. They raise families, they form friendships, they find ways to create meaning despite the absurdity of the context. But the shadow of the Strip looms over everything. The city's economy rises and falls with tourism. When a recession hits, or when pandemic lockdowns empty the casinos, the entire region suffers. Jobs disappear, construction stops. The residential Las Vegas that tries so hard to be normal gets reminded that it only exists to support the spectacle. This is the fundamental tension. Las Vegas wants to be two things at once: a fantasy destination and a real city, a playground and a home. But these goals are often contradictory. The things that make it appealing to tourists, the excess, the spectacle, the anything-go attitude, make it hollow for residents. Other tourist cities manage to find balance. Paris has the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre, but it also has centuries of neighborhoods where actual Parisians live their lives. London has Buckingham Palace and Big Ben, but it also has vibrant local communities with distinct character. Tokyo has its tourist districts, but the city's identity extends far beyond them. Las Vegas has the Strip, and when you take away the Strip, what is left? Sprawl, heat, suburbs that could be anywhere. The question haunting every resident is whether there is anything actually there beneath the neon, or if the whole thing really is just a very elaborate set with housing tracks in the background. The city keeps trying to diversify, to become more than just gambling and spectacle. It has invested in becoming a sports town. It is trying to attract tech companies. It is promoting its growing art scene. These efforts are genuine and sometimes successful, but they are fighting against a deeper identity problem. Because when someone says they are from Las Vegas, the response is almost always the same. Questions about the Strip, about casinos, about shows and celebrities. Never about neighborhoods or culture or what daily life is like. The city is so thoroughly associated with its tourist identity that the residential reality becomes invisible. This invisibility extends to how Vegas is portrayed in media. Movies show the Strip, television shows show the casinos. Even when the plot involves people who live there, the setting is almost always the spectacle, the normal parts, the real parts, the parts where actual life happens. They don't exist in the cultural imagination. So residents live in a strange dual reality. The city everyone knows isn't the city they experience. Their Las Vegas is traffic on the 215. It's the local casinos off the Strip with cheaper drinks and worse carpets. It's the normal frustrations of urban sprawl and rising housing costs and 45-minute commutes. But that city doesn't have a name. That city doesn't have an identity strong enough to compete with the version that everyone thinks they know. And maybe that's the cruelest part, living somewhere that technically exists but culturally doesn't. Being from a place that's famous worldwide but not for anything you actually experience. The fakeness isn't just in the replica landmarks. It's not just the Eiffel Tower at half the size, or the Venice without actual water, or the New York without the garbage smell. The fakeness is deeper. It's a city built on the premise of illusion, where authenticity is seen as a liability rather than an asset, where the whole point is to be somewhere else, anywhere else, as long as it's not here. And that works perfectly well until you realize that here is where you live, that the place designed to be escaped from is your home, that the city built for forgetting is where you are trying to build memories worth keeping. This is Las Vegas, a place that shouldn't exist, succeeding wildly at being what it was designed to be, while the people who actually live there navigate the strange reality of calling a mirage home. A city that's everywhere and nowhere at once. A city that asks you to check your sense of reality at the door and forget that places are supposed to mean something beyond the money they generate. And maybe that's the future. Maybe Las Vegas is just ahead of the curve. Maybe all cities are slowly becoming this, optimized for capital rather than community, designed for consumption rather than connection, more concerned with their brand than their soul. Or maybe Las Vegas is unique in its commitment to the bit, to being completely and utterly what it is, without pretension otherwise. A city that looked at the desert and said, we are building Paris here, we are building Rome, we are building New York, we are building everything except something real. The lights never stop, the shows go on, the fountains dance, and somewhere beyond all that, in the sprawl and the heat and the endless suburbs, people are just trying to live their lives in a place that was never designed for that purpose. That's Las Vegas, a city built on illusion, where the greatest trick isn't making you believe in the fantasy, it's making you forget that underneath it all, there was supposed to be something real,